pals, I'm Casey, and today I want to talk to you about the books I've bought so far this year. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Casey. I do all the good booktube content that everyone else does, and today I just kind of want to walk you through my book purchases for the last 4 months or so, 3.5 months, something. It's mid-April now, so since January. One thing I'm trying to be better about this year is I really want to keep track of my purchases. If you've been here for some of my other stuff, you'll see this occasionally. This is keeping track of books I've read from the library versus I've purchased for myself, but I really just wanted to keep track of how much money I'm spending on books, because I had a couple of years there where I was buying a ton of stuff. I was spending a lot of my free time money on books, and it was becoming very overwhelming, especially whenever you're just buying stuff because you heard someone talk about it or that the cover's really pretty, which I still do these things, but I'm a lot more reined in because it's very frustrating to get to the end of the year and see a stack of books that you spent full price or that you paid full price for and that you just need to donate or sell back or do something with because they don't work in your library. So really quickly, let's go through the books that I have bought since January. Okay, so if I just did my counting right, which I'm not very good at historically, I've bought or brought in 7 books into my house this year. That is actually just slightly more than what I thought. I thought I was at 5 or 6, but that's perfectly fine. And I thought I had bought more books I had already read. I think that's been my intention going into a lot of places. Every time I'm like, I want to go buy a book, I go in and I look at a list I have of books that I have read through my library but that I want to have a physical copy of, and I see if they speak to me that day and whether or not I want to purchase them. So the one book that I have done or that I have purchased that I've already read is Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the prices I paid for these. Let's just be fucking for real right now. I spent a full $18 on this. This says $18.99 back here, but I've been keeping my receipts and writing those down, so I must have caught this on a slight sale or something that day. But I really love this book. When I read it, I really love Stephen Graham Jones as an author, and I really want a copy of this, and I'm so happy I have it so it can go on my Stephen Graham Jones pile. Yeah, so this is the one book that I have already read that I have purchased. Okay, the next book that I brought into my home, I'm saying that way because I paid no money for this. I paid no money for this. Free little libraries are awesome. This is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I have not gotten around to this yet, even though I really do want to read it. It is fairly short, but I paid no money for this because I found it in a free little library near my house. I recently went through some of my books. I've been trying to get better about dusting in here, and when I'm dusting, sort of, really evaluating what I have on my shelves, if I still want it there. And I went through a massive clean out of books, which you can see in my most recent unhaul, some of them, but I actually, even after I filmed that, I was going through books, and I'm not getting into the whole reason why, but I ended up clearing out maybe 25 more or something, because I was getting rid of some books and some authors, and I was taking a number of books instead of taking them up to my spouse's workplace, which was doing this really fun book exchange thing. I took certain books that I had that I'd gotten through library sales that had library tags, or even up top here the stamps saying which library they were from. I took them to free little libraries because I, as fun as it would be to be oh yeah, I hope someone else can pick this, they were taking those books back to the library if at the end of it there were certain books that didn't get picked up. They were taking them to the library for the library program that sells books and does book sales, and I was like, I don't want to just give you books that I bought from you already, so I took those to, that's a long story for when I did this. I saw this in the free little library and I got really excited because it's in really excellent condition, and I pulled it out and I took it home after I dropped off 10 or 15 books. So I was really excited. I'm happy to have this in the house. I'm excited to get around to it, and I'm excited that I paid no money for it. The next one that I'm going to talk about is Night of the Living Res by Morgan Talty. I paid $16.95 for this bad boy, and I'm really excited because I really love short story collections. I've been trying to be a short story and anthology person this year, and it's going okay. But I really like having short story collections, and I like them being in my house, and I was so excited when I saw this at Barnes & Noble, and I just immediately grabbed it because it's been on my want to read list for a while, and I did pay full price for it, but this is like, I don't know, sometimes, you know, you just see an author and you're like, yeah, I want to give you my money, and that's how I felt about this. Very similar feelings because I bought these the same day. Revenge by Yoko Ogawa. This one I paid $17 for, and I am excited to have it. I read The Memory Police from this author, and I absolutely loved it, and I think about it all the time, and I've told a whole bunch of other people to read it because it's very interesting, and so I really want to read more of their work, and this is 11 short stories, so I'm excited to get around to this one as well, and another one I'm very happy to have paid money for at this point. The next one I have here is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I paid a whole whopping $28.99 for this because it is a new release hardback, and I really wanted it. I really wanted it. I went into the bookstore this day fully expecting to pick up a book that I'd already read and really wanted, and instead I saw this and I was like, I have to, I really want it, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it. I've read 2 things from this author before, and I really I loved one of them, and the other one I enjoyed a great deal. I have a hold on this for the audiobook version of this from my library that came in actually like a month ago, but I was dealing with a terrible reading slump, and I tried to start this one, and I got through the first chapter, and I knew I was gonna love it, but I just wasn't feeling it at that time. So that's another reason why I felt very secure in going ahead and purchasing this at full price for a hardback. Okay, so the last 2 I have here are Signal to Noise by Sylvia Marino Garcia. This one I paid $16.99 for. I am excited about this one. I really love Marino Garcia's work. I have a bunch of her stuff in my house, and this is one of hers that I have not read, but I was very excited to. And I have to say, I do like this cover a lot. It is probably my least favorite cover of this that I've seen. I've seen several covers for this book in particular, and so I almost didn't buy it because it's like, well, maybe I can go, maybe I'll see like the other covers that I prefer, but I just decided to go ahead and grab it, and yeah, it's in my house now, and I'm excited to get around to it. I will also say one of the reasons I felt very confident in going ahead and purchasing this at full price the way I did without having read it first is because I really do enjoy this author, and this is the biggest thing I just want to do this year. I'm not trying to not buy books. I'm not trying to do a book buying ban. That's gonna end terribly for me. I'm just gonna spend a shitload of my money if I do that to myself. I'm not trying to what's the word, like police my spending so much, but I'm trying to be mindful of how I spend. And this, I feel like, is just such a good example because I love this author and I like having her stuff on my shelves, even stuff that I haven't enjoyed. I still have Mexican Gothic. I can see it right over there. But I like having her work on my shelves. And so this is a good example of why I felt confident to buy this without having read it first. And then the last one that I've purchased since January is Ithaca by Claire North. This is another one I haven't read, but I paid $18.99 for, and I feel fairly confident in this one, not because I think I'm gonna love it or it's gonna be a new all-time favorite, but because I love Greek retellings. It was just my shit growing up. I loved hearing all the mythology, and like my mom and I would watch that terrible like Jason and the Argonauts movie that's got like the clockwork owl that flies around in it all the time, and we would always watch stuff like that. And when I took Latin in high school, we would do like huge portions every year talking about the mythology and all the stuff as it pertained to Rome, not necessarily Greek mythology, but the Roman mythology, which they're exceedingly similar. And so, yeah, I would always tell my mom these stories. Like, we would go on walks every day, and she would be like, so tell me what you learned at school. And I would just talk to her about this. So I love Greek retellings so much. Now, sometimes they're a little miss, sometimes they're not super great, but I have yet to read a really good one that is centered around Penelope, and that's what this is. And so we're gonna have fingers crossed that this is better. This at least has to be better than that terrible Margaret Atwood one that I read. But that's another reason why I felt very confident in purchasing this one at full price. Okay, that's it. Those are the books that I have purchased quote unquote, since the beginning of January. I know that book hauls, you know, for me historically have been a lot bigger, and for a lot of people they're, you know, usually massive events. So I hope that, you know, me kind of explaining why my purchases have slowed down, and just kind of walking you through some of my thought process when I'm going to the bookstore and like what I'm purchasing and what I'm looking for was interesting to you. Please feel free to do algorithm things if you want. I will see you next Friday, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Okay, bye.